How can information and communication technology support literacy's learning in the early years? Well, it is certainly not easy, but definitely necessary. Look around. ICTs are everywhere. So much for our daily activities revolves around technology and particularly the use of ICTs. Why wouldn't we prepare our children for the world in front of them, whatever that may look like? After all, many children these days are not only surrounded by new technologies from a young age, but it has been argued that they are the digital natives. Hopkins explains, children are already immersed in interactive digital environments long before they come into contact with formal education, and are increasingly developing skills in information navigation, retrieval, and creation from the earliest childhood. Children decode, decipher, interpret, transmit and create information visually, verbally and orally in networked and interlinked ways long before they are able or required to deal with blocks of print on a static page. This new context in which we live necessitates educators need to nurture and develop this competency so that students can interact safely and effectively in their own lives. The world's view of literacy has changed from traditional view of literacy to multi-literacies. This means traditional beliefs around literacy teachings need to be supplemented by an ability to understand networked information, navigate through linked rather than sequential pages, and interpret visual, oral and verbal information all at the same time. Akara believes students become literate as they develop the knowledge, skills and dispositions to interpret and use language confidently for learning and communicating in and out of school, and for participating effectively in society. Literacy involves students in listening to, reading, viewing, speaking, writing and creating oral print, visual and digital text, and using and modifying language for different purposes in a range of contexts. Akara states, students develop ICT capability as they learn to use ICT effectively and appropriately to access, create and communicate information and ideas, solve problems and work collaboratively in all learning areas at school and in their lives beyond school. Current educational theories not only encourage educators to embed ICTs in their teaching of literacy during the early years, but research around early brain development recognise potential and readiness of the early brain in developing early multiliteracies. This does not mean that children should be exposed to strict academic learning, but rather children can be given opportunities to explore and make connections between themselves and their environment from a young age. This should include the digital world as well as relevant and age-appropriate ICTs. Literacy education in the early years has become more complex than ever before. This can be attributed to both the reality of our constantly changing world, specifically the development of new information and communication technologies, and current research around early brain development. This essay will explain why it is important to use ICTs to support literacies in the early years by explaining current ideas about literacy and early brain development, while also explaining some of the limitations that can put some children at risk.